So good morning and good evening. Welcome to this session, the next session on psychic education, in which we are reading the words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo on psychic education. So, invoking Mother and Sri Aurobindo's grace and presence as we go further, and praying for suppleness and more receptivity so that I can be more open to receiving what I need to receive in order to progress further, grow further. Yes, thank you. If anybody would like to read the prayer that we usually read before we begin the session.
Yes, Lord, we pray to Thee. May we understand better why we are here. May we do better what we have to do here. May we be what we ought to become here, so that Thy will may be fulfilled harmoniously. The Mother.
Thank you. So we had started this new section, title being In Search of the Soul. So we have taken up just the first paragraph in details, but for overlap, we can read the whole thing and then we can take it up. So anybody who would like to read can read till, introspective exercises. They can read the whole thing again so that we can, it will be a recap of what we have done.
In Search of the Soul. How to start the search for the psychic being. We caution you beforehand. It may take years to have the experience of a complete discovery, but each time you go in search and open yourself to the innermost reality, you will receive something from there, something that is so precious that it will slowly change the quality of your life. In addition to this, the innermost reality becomes more and more concrete to you and becomes a living fact. Gradually, the inner life becomes such a concrete reality that it provides you with a solid base on which you can build your whole life. Every time you contact this base, you feel enveloped with something precious, something that gives a beautiful and truly new meaning to your life. The goal may not be easy to reach. There are many interesting stories of the ups and downs of those who started out in quest of a precious object. Your journey is in the inner worlds, and there too you may sometimes meet hardships. But the mother says that every sincere call for help is answered. If you start with sincerity, you may trust that on the way you will be given enough drops of the truth to feel protected and uplifted. Here are two quotations of the mother. In the first one, she expresses why it is important to go in search of the psychic being. In the second one, she explains why it will be a long journey. The psychic being is in each of you, the deep inner being which you have to find in order that you may come in contact with the divine in you. It is intermediary between the divine consciousness and your external consciousness. It is the builder of the inner life. It is what which manifests in the outer nature the order and rule of the divine will. The mother. The outer being is like a crust. In ordinary people, the crust is so hard and thick that they are not conscious of the divine within them. If once, even for a moment only, the inner being has said, I'm here and I'm yours, then it is as though a bridge has been built, and little by little the crust becomes thinner and thinner until the two parts are wholly joined and the inner and the outer become one. The mother. By now, you must have experienced the crust and found out that while observing yourself, you meet very regularly your mental, vital, and physical nature, but hardly at all your psychic being. Why is it so difficult to experience the psychic? You most likely know the answer already because we talked about it in one of the previous chapters when we explained how the outer being is still full of ignorance. It is this ignorance that makes the outer being like a crust. There is another reason why it is difficult to discover the psychic. The psychic being has no demands, it has no desires, it is quiet, whereas the mental and the vital nature are constantly pressing their demands. They ask for attention all the time, especially the vital is almost never satisfied. It always makes you crave for more possessions, for more attention from friends, in short, for more outer contentment. The psychic has no demands and is patient. What the psychic does, though, is to put behind the surface a gentle pressure on the outer nature to open itself to the divine, but it does that without any show, without asking for any conditions. That is why you must make an effort to find it and why you must really want to find it.
Yes, thank you. Any reflections on what we have just read? Again, it was mostly a repetition from last time. We had read it but not fully discussed it. So even the title of the section is so beautiful, right? In Search of the Soul. Yeah. So we had discussed this last time that how, we keep differentiating between my real life and, this search that is within me, and how it is a special thing that, we, lot of us, we distinguish and we classify and we segregate and we prioritize. So that's in the first paragraph, that's what it was said, that slowly what will happen is that the inner reality, which right now we might be saying that, oh, this is something, that happens occasionally, but this is my life. So that dynamism, that whole segregation, that starts changing, and the inner world starts becoming more concrete and a living fact, and we are able to truly see the transitory maybe nature of the outer. So gradually the inner life becomes such a concrete reality that it provides you with a solid base on which you can build your whole life. Every time you contact this base, you feel enveloped with something precious, something that gives a beautiful and truly new meaning to your lives. So this dynamism, this, I don't know what the word is, maybe not dynamics is what I was looking for actually, will shift, will change as we start moving more towards it. So this, yes, we have been told, we know nothing is easy. There are no free lunches, and we have to put in our effort with sincerity and honesty. But the mother says that every sincere call for help is answered. You know how even last time we were discussing that at times it's tiring, at times it's exhausting, at times it feels impossible, that nothing ever changes. And yet, am I reaching out, right? Am I reaching out for the one who knows, who who would know how to clear this? So it's a good reminder to always call for help if help is needed. And every sincere call for help is answered. So if you start with sincerity, you may trust that on the way you will be given enough drops of the truth to feel protected and uplifted. So mother, we would know that, mother says sincerity is one of the virtues that is like the most important. Without that, it's not possible to go much further along. Like sincerity is needed for everything. And I think again, like we speak about perfection, like no matter how sincere we are, we know individually for us that we can be more sincere, more sincere, more sincere. So again, it's something that doesn't have an end point, and we can. So again, a reflection, a call to connect within and be more open and more sincere towards what I believe, what I sense is my most important thing, the reason why I'm doing this. Yeah, anything uh, right now on the first page? Okay, so we'll just go forward. So now we have two quotations from the mother. So the quotation is, the first is about the psychic being, and I think the most visual, the most simple one that I'd even referred last time was what, Monica had shared on the group once. And it was like how mother, I think it must be the mother who was describing that how there's a generator, which is the divine, there is us, and then there is this, this wire that connects the generator with us, the thing. So the wire is the psychic being, our connection with the divine. So this is saying almost the same thing, that the psychic being is in each of you, the deep inner being which you have to find in order that you may come in contact with the divine in you. It is the intermediary between the divine consciousness and your external consciousness. It is the builder of the inner life. It is that which manifests in the outer nature the order and rule of the divine will. So through this, we all get connected to our source, the source being the divine. And for us, the divine will, like, because most of our questions are, what should we do? There's confusion about future, about present, about the direction of life, job, engagement, relationships. So that's why the divine will, that then there is no confusion. This was the first passage from the mother. And the second one is, she talks about the crust, right? That the outer being is like a crust, so something hard, something through which things can't usually penetrate, cannot, it's not supple, it's not receptive, it's thick. So in ordinary people, the crust is so hard and thick that they are not conscious of the divine within them. If once, even for a moment only, the inner being has said, I'm here and I am yours, then it is as though a bridge has been built, and little by little the crust becomes thinner and thinner until the two parts are wholly joined and the inner and outer becomes one. So just the possibility, just even reading about it, that the inner and outer would become one is very exciting, for the lack of a better word. So it's like I have to say that, yes, I have to say that, yes, I am here. And that is why, we are often asked that, would, if you want to do this, then do the. So what is the aim? Why are you here? Why are you on the path? What are you seeking? Why are you seeking? So clarity is needed in why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because usually, not usually, at times, even, on the path, a lot of times we enter because we again have some fascinations about things, right? And that's okay. I mean, it's okay to have that, but if we must drop it, if we want to progress. I remember once in a live session, there was this college going person who was in a session with Acharya Prashant, and he was talking about how he has images of spirituality, and how he feels that once he gets it, he would also be like wearing those white robes, and wherever he'll go people would follow. So you can imagine that what Acharya Prashant could have or would have said to him, but it was very beautiful to see how he could not see what he was saying. Like, according to him, what he was sharing was the ultimate beauty. And yet, the desire to be that man in that white robe, that was what was pulling him. So, of course, and that's, I'm not saying it's like something bad, it's a good thing only, but then I don't know, my center of operation again won't be right, right? Again, I'm looking for name, I'm looking for fame, I'm looking for recognition, I'm looking to be that image that I have seen and I have liked. So we have to drop these things when we see them, if we see them by grace, so that again we can have better motivations, better aims. I don't know if better is a word I should be using, higher maybe, that there's more to this than just another name, that I'm a senior this thing, or I'm a, I've been on the path. Alokda says this a lot, right? A lot of people say that, I have not left the ashram, say, for 40 years. And that's something they are very proud of. They say it with a lot of, as if it is a very big achievement, and that achievement defines them. So it is a big achievement. And yet, if that is what defines me now, who am I? I am the one who hasn't, done such and such thing for 40 years. Then again, I'm limiting myself and then defying the purpose of why I am here, or it appears to be like that. Yeah, so Snehi, I think, has shared something. So Snehi has asked, I have a question. Is it possible to completely free ourselves of these images? Yes, Snehi, I would like to believe that yes. And a lot of times what I have basically sensed, at times felt and read, is that these the desire for these images probably doesn't go, but there's something in me which doesn't get attracted by these desires. Like, for example, say right now, if we are seven and there is somebody selling cotton candy outside our house, so we will want to go and get it, right? Like, it will be like, oh my God, I want it. But if, say, we are 40, for example, and we don't like cotton candy, so if there is somebody selling cotton candy, it would not attract us. So it's said that, these things remain, but because you stop paying attention to them, you stop being attracted to them, their influence on you becomes from, less, 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 less to non existence. you know how, that Buddha story in which we have shared before, and you might have heard it, from here or anywhere else, where he said that I don't have the seed of anger in me anymore. That's why I don't get angry. So probably that seed of attraction, of that desire towards images, goes away. Yeah. So that's anybody else who would like to reflect, answer, comment on this question or whatever we have been reading so far is welcome to unmute. So we sharing the screen again. So these were the two passages, and so further it is being said that by now you must have experienced the crust and found out that while observing yourself, you meet very regularly. So this is why the exercises before were important. And this is why if we are doing this workbook and if we want this to have effect in our lives, if we want our lives to change, then it's important to do these exercises. Because there we were told, right, to observe where it is coming from, mental, vital, physical, emotional, those things, so that I can see, I can identify those parts in me. So while observing yourself, you meet very regularly your mental, vital, and physical nature, but hardly at all your psychic being. So why is it so difficult to experience the psychic? You must know the answer. It is said that it is this ignorance that makes the outer being like a crust. So how the outer being is still full of ignorance. So what is ignorance, right? Anything and everything which is not true is ignorance. So everything that I believe in which is not true is ignorance. And the definition, one of the definition of truths is that, it's a akartya, like something which never changes, like time, person, situation, yug, has no effect on the truth. So what is there in my life which does not get affected, which never changes, which would never change, say for eternity, in eternity? So all that which changes is falsehood and not the truth. So yeah, coming back to it. So it is this ignorance that makes the outer being like a crust. There is another reason why it is difficult to discover the psychic. The psychic being has no demand, right? So one thing in me, there's some things in me which they're shouting, they come from the desire soul, and it's like, I want, I want, I want, I want. And there is something which is silent. So, of course, the one who's saying, I want, I want, I want, has the predominance, right? Because it's so loud, it's so demanding, it's so needy, it's so, yeah. So, because it has no demand, that's why it's always said, a silent voice, a soft voice. When we are asked to connect with them, that voice which is like, if you are not careful, you will not even hear it. So it has no desires, it is quiet, whereas the mental and vital nature are constantly pressing their demands. This is one of the reasons why we don't see the psychic's voice, we don't hear the psychic voice, we don't see the influence of the psychic being that strongly, that occasionally, that frequently, sorry, as we see the other parts of us. So the mental, vital, they are asking for attention all the time, even the physical. Especially the vital is almost never satisfied. It always makes you crave for more possessions, for more attention from friends, in short, for more outer contentment. Outer is all it knows, right? So outer contentment is something that it really wants. Whereas the psychic has no demands and is patient. What the psychic does, though, is to put behind the surface. So, although it's patient and it's not asking, not demanding loudly, but what the psychic does is to put behind the surface a gentle pressure on the outer nature to open itself to the divine. But it does that without any show, without asking for any conditions. And that is why you must make an effort to find it and why you must really want to find it. Yeah, yeah. Said very simply, so I don't think it needs further elaboration. But any, reflections, sharings are welcome before we move to the next part. Okay. So now we have some introspective exercises. So would anybody like to read it for us, starting from here?
Yes. Introspective exercises. The mother has given several introspective exercises to help the process of discovering the psychic being. They are contemplative and inward looking. They are exercises in the sense that they should be repeated regularly. This repetition is needed to open the way and clear the path to the psychic being. It is like the hard work needed when you would try to enter a virgin forest. Before starting any introspection, prepare yourself. Gather all the strands of your being, center yourself, and shift your focus inwards. Concentration on your breath may help you to turn within. Introspective exercise. Here is a preparatory exercise for finding the psychic. A question was put to the mother. How to have the experience of the psychic? The mother's answer. To go within yourself, that is the first step. And then, once you have succeeded in going within yourself deeply enough to feel the reality of which is within, of that which is within, to widen yourself progressively, systematically, to become as vast as the universe and lose the sense of limitation. These are the first two preparatory movements, and these two things must be done in the greatest possible calm, peace, and tranquility. This tranquility brings about silence in the mind and stillness in the vital, the mother. This silence in the mind and stillness in the vital are needed to discover the psychic because it is quietly present deep within. If you want straight away if I'll read that again. If you want straight away some exercises that will help you to quieten the mind and the vital. You can turn to these exercises in the next chapter. In this chapter, we continue to concentrate on the discovery of the psychic presence. Besides doing these introspective exercises as calmly and peacefully as possible, the effect will be more beneficial if you do them regularly. Do not give up. It is best when the search for sorry, the psychic becomes a daily habit. Here is the mother's advice. This effort, this attempt must be renewed very regularly, persistently. And after a certain lapse of time, which may be longer or you begin to reality that is different from the reality perceived in the ordinary external consciousness. By the action of the grace, the veil may suddenly be rent from within, and at once you can enter the true truth. But even when this happens, in order to obtain the full value and full effect of the experience, you must maintain yourself in a state of inner receptivity, and to do that, it is indispensable for you to go within each day. The mother.
Maybe we can pause here and then we'll go further. Thank you. So as we were discussing last time as well, that all it's asking us to give us 20 minutes of our time specifically for these exercises. So for going further with that, so it started with this question that somebody had put to the mother, how to have the experience of the psychic. And the mother answers, to go within yourself, that is the first step. And to go within ourselves, those 20 minutes that were requested comes very handy. So by now, if we have established a practice of giving some time to ourselves, when there's silence, when we are undisturbed, then we can focus within. So if something is within, of course, we have to go within to find it. So to go within yourself is the first step, says the mother. And then once you have succeeded in going within yourself deeply enough to feel the reality of that which is within, to widen yourself progressively, systematically, to become as vast as the universe and lose the sense of limitation. It's very fascinating. Even in Life Divine, I think this was mentioned very beautifully that how, you are, say, everything, and yet you want to be something. You want to have a definition, you want to have a limitation. So, because it feels safe, right? Who am I? This. What do I own? This. Who do I belong to? This. So, this thing that gives me safety, security, a sense of belonging, a sense of doership, my achievements, my goals, those little me is what I feel I am, and that limits me. So, this is why it's so beautiful that once you have succeeded in going within yourself deeply enough to feel the reality of that which is within, to widen yourself progressively, systematically, to become as vast as the universe and lose the sense of the limit of limitation. So this is the sense that we all have, this limited. I am limited. And my definition of limited might have increased. My limitations might have stretched in life. And yet I further limit, right? Like if I expand, I say, okay, now I am this. Earlier I was this, now I am this. It's still limited. It's very fascinating. There's this beautiful uh, quote from Sri Aurobindo. I don't remember it exactly. It was something like this, how we all say we want freedom, and yet each of us are in love with our chains, something like this, that this is quite, how they say, virodha bhasi, contradictory and unbelievable, and yet we see that in ourselves. That the things that I do, the titles that I have, they define me, they give me a sense of belonging, and even if they are weighing heavily on me, still I don't want to let go because it feels this is what I am, this is who I am. What will I be if this is taken away from me? So my sense of being lies on these limitations that I draw. Lakshman Rekha, I keep drawing around myself, and I say, this is me. So it's beautiful that one then loses the sense of limitation. So these are the first two preparatory movements. So go within and then systematically become vast so as to lose the sense of limitation. So these are the two things that must be done in the greatest possible calm, peace, and tranquility. This tranquility brings about silence in the mind and stillness in the vital. So this is what we are looking for. Basically, it appears that this solidarity, this strength, this groundedness, so that there's stillness, so that more can happen. So if something is really quiet, really, really not quiet, but really soft, I have to be really still to hear it. So factually, logically, reasonably, it makes full sense. Only if we were wanting to try it, become it, will it become us. So just for the pleasure of it, just rereading it. So Mother says to go within yourself, that is the first step. And then once you have succeeded in going within yourself deeply enough to feel the reality of that which is within, to widen yourself progressively, systematically, to become as vast as the universe and lose the sense of limitation. These are the first two preparatory movements. And these two things must be done in the greatest possible calm, peace, and tranquility. This tranquility brings about silence in the mind and stillness in the vital. So, besides doing these exercises as calmly and peacefully as possible, the effect will be more beneficial if you do them regularly. This regularity has been stressed upon so much in this workbook, and we must, if possible, take it with that with that importance. So it is best when the search for the psychic becomes a habit. So again, on this, Mother has said that this effect, this attempt must be renewed very regularly, persistently. So again, it shows when we are doing this and the challenges that we get, it would help us see that what is the priority of my life? What are the things that I am valuing? Because whatever, of course, I value, no matter what, I make time for that. So this effort, this attempt must be renewed very regularly, persistently, and after a certain lapse of time, which may be longer or shorter, you begin to perceive a reality that is different from the reality perceived in the ordinary external consciousness. By the action of grace, the veil may suddenly be rent from within. At once you can enter the true truth. The true truth. The truths are available to us here and there, right? So much is available in the name of truth, in the name of progress. So, at once you can enter the true truth, but even when that happens, in order to obtain the full value and full effect of the experience, you must maintain yourself in a state of inner receptivity, and to do that, it is indispensable for you to go within each day. So, a consistent effort, consistent will is required to be that open, to be that receptive, so that one can receive it fully. Yes. Anything on that?
I think one thing to just add on the tranquility, uh, Shibindo has also, talked a lot about peace and calm and samatha. So I thought that was a really good point because that has to get established. And it was interesting. I think one of the talks of one of the earlier disciples, he was actually saying, like, you can, you should ask for peace to descend, like a meditation, almost like, peace, peace, peace. And, it's a good practice because I think these are all, kind of indicators, and we've all discussed this, but that how when we feel agitated, we know, right? I mean, we are, all of us observe. So we know that when it happens, and then the peace is disturbed. And as I think you're saying here, right? You go to the source. But I mean, there are so many ways, whatever comes spontaneously. I think actually at that time, invoking the mother, invoking peace also helps. So I think that is one, very good thing, this tranquility. And we can ourselves gauge like how much is it, what disturbs it, that sort of thing. So, and then the other thing I was just reminded of was that, one other way of looking at it is like our lives are so turned outward. So in a way, I mean, of course, the practice is very important. But I mean, even here, like we are meeting, right? I heard Alok, say these are the new, the new yagnas, right? The Zoom meeting. I thought that was very interesting way of. But it is right. I mean, what are we? We are invoking the divine's presence, and we are remembering, Mother Aurobindo. So yes, I think it is right. And but that's then you feel joy, in attending and in listening and absorbing and assimilating, versus like, oh, let me spend my time, again maybe watching some video or whatever, right? So that's, I think, the more we ourselves feel pulled, it just like I remember that I think Monica described it this way. I think that, and I think you can put it so many ways, but this is a good way. Your taste change नहीं होता ना, so you have to. It takes time for the taste to change. Then you think, oh, I don't like these old things. So as you said, right, that yeah, they'll be there, but you don't have any craving for it anymore. Until somebody asks the question. So
So if anybody is willing, we can read from here till the exercises again begin in this box. So yeah, I'll read. So it says that because it is not easy to find the psychic, the question of how to find it was asked several times to the mother. Here are two of her answers, one from 1955 and one from 1956. Question: how to find the psychic? Yeah, so this is what I'm sure a lot of us would have heard. The mother says to sit in meditation before a closed door as though it were a heavy door of bronze, and one sits in front of it with the will that it may open. And so the whole concentration, the whole aspiration is gathered into a beam and pushes against this door. So this, with your concentration, with your whole aspiration, you're pushing against this door, and pushes more and more with an increasing energy until all of a sudden it bursts open and one enters. And this is a very concrete and very powerful way of entering into contact with one's psychic being. Now, I find it very fascinating how so many times, mother, when she answers these questions, you're always said, and before you feel you are ready, before you realize that, okay, you have done enough, something somewhere changes and it happens. So it just helps me because, with our limited understanding, some things appear too easy, the other things appear too far. And yet, it's easy, it's close, it's far is not something I need to worry about. It's not something I can worry about. All I need to do is, just with my concentration, aspiration, be with it. And then whatever has to happen, it happens when it's the time for it to happen, doing it with sincerity, honesty, and the will to want it. Yeah. So again, in our 20 minutes, when we are sitting, if we are sitting, if we are giving it some dedicated time, we can practice this too. This is why it's given to us here. Whatever we resonate with, we must go back to it because repetition is the key, and we know that nothing comes without practice, without repetition. And the second one is that the mother suggests that you may like to use a key. So the question is how to find the light within. You must find the key. It is not a joke. It is very serious. You must sit down in front of the door and then concentrate until you have found the key or the word or the power to open it. If one doesn't try, it doesn't open by itself. Perhaps after thousands of years that it might open, but if you want to do it immediately, so to do it immediately, you must sit down obstinately before the door until you have found the means. It may be a key, it may be a word, it may be a force, it may be anything at all. And you remain there before the door until it opens. And you do not think of anything else, only of the door. Yeah, so both quite similar, whatever we resonate with, either just concentrating, focusing, aspiring on it, or trying to see how I would open it with the key, a word, of force. And we will, of course, be guided if we move in this direction. We are guided, yeah. So we still have time. Maybe we can read this so that we can practice it this week. We have already have 2 meditations, but this is the introspective worksheet. So some key helpful suggestions for finding your personal key. When you close your eyes and go within, do you often spontaneously see an image? Or do you hear something? Or do you see a movement like clouds sailing in the sky? So, for this, if we are sitting with ourselves, they're asking, do we see something consistently and spontaneously? Whatever comes spontaneously and often could be your key. So, this is just a hint, this is a help. So, it may help to know your natural observation mode. Here is a way to find that out. When you walk in a street, what do you notice spontaneously? The things you see, the sound you hear, the movement of the cars, cycles, people, trees, etc. So, what comes spontaneously to me out of, say these 3 things? It's just a way to help me identify with what I resonate with more, what I connect with more. So it says further that in case you normally notice things by seeing, your inner key is most likely an image. If in daily life you notice things by hearing, your inner key is most likely a sound. If you notice things like movement, your inner key is most likely a movement. If none of these is dominant in you, your key may change from time to time. So this was something I resonated with the most. That, otherwise, I don't know, whenever I look at this, it becomes again that, I have to look for something specific. But this openness that, it may change from time to time. For the concentration, the aspiration to open it, as long as that is there in honesty with as much sincerity as I'm capable of, truly, not just statingly that this is all I can do. If that's all I can truly do, I feel that's enough. So, not to get lost in this, but of course, if it helps us, take anything that helps me from this. So, maybe we should end here. That's enough for us for at least this week. So, if we have been sitting, we have new practices to do, new steps, and yeah, that's all. So, anything from anyone on what we have read today or anything else they would want to share before we end the session?
Some of the most beautiful things of this teaching for me is that I think Sri Aurobindo and Mother understood that each one needs a unique way for approaching the divine. We all have different natures, different personalities, different, you cannot put the divine or a path to the divine in a very narrow method. You can do it, but it wouldn't be the integral path that they show us. So I find a lot of beauty in this. Like she gives like hints, but each one needs to find what is you know the way for each other. I think it gives a lot of freedom and a lot of self-responsibility for finding the way. Yeah, you won't find in this teaching a recipe or something that it's the only way to do it. It's like a path so open. That
Yeah, that is very beautiful. Quite resonate with that. And I think, just to add to what Juan said, I think and I'm not saying they have but we always want a method or a technique. And I'm sure many of us have listened to lectures from devotees where they have emphasized this point that you have to find your own, path, right? Because what resonates with one person will not resonate. But the key is this, the psychic opening. We were reading another passage at our center. It was very beautiful. Like the disciple asked, like, how to light the psychic fire. And Mother says, by a will for progress and purification. That she said, you have to have that sincere will. And then she says, use a beautiful analogy. She says, you have to throw all your defects into this fire. So I found the analogy so beautiful because it's like we are feeding that flame all our defects, our egoistic desires, our vital ambitions. Every day you feed it that. And that's, I think, Saru, you talked about sincerity, right? Because you are observing that. So every time you see that movement, you feed it. And then Mother says it grows. So I think thought that was very beautiful, the way she described it.
Yeah, and I think this is the meditation that Ritu was referring to last time that she really resonated with. I do have that in Amita Didi's voice from the Gnostic Center. So if I can find it, I'll share it on the group. Otherwise, when Monica connects, she will share it. She has it for sure. It's a very nice meditation.
Yeah, that'll be lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we will end the session here. So thanking Grace, thanking the Divine for this yagna, as Vishalji just told us that this is. So thanking for so many blessings that I have, the capabilities that I have, the possibilities that I have, and aspiring and requesting for more will, more grace, more hand holding if needed to progress so that I can become what I'm capable of becoming. I can do what I'm here to do. So if I can rise above my time passes, maybe now it's time to give myself more fully, more sincerely to what I'm here to do. So praying for progress, growth, peace, joy for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.